Well, welcome to today's work session. This is a public meeting, not a public hearing, so no public comments will be taken. It's Monday, the 22nd of January. We have Commissioner Bolos. Thank you. Monday, the 22nd of July. Thank you, Mr. Erickson. We have Commissioner Bolos seated to my right. I'm Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Frohr is away on work, and so we miss him, but we'll still move forward without him. Item number 1 is a discussion and or action for the approval of the minutes for the commission work session held on July 15th, 2024. The meetings are attached. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
And I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 2 is a discussion regarding the county-wide flood improvements. Listed here are Gary Myers, but I know Mr. Myers is not going to be here today. So we have Mr. Ross, Mr. Park, Mr. Erickson, and then also Mr. Meyerhofer.
Ashley's gone as well today.
Yeah, great.
Stuck with me. Sorry.
Mr. Ross, I'm going to go to you first on this.
We're gonna defer to Scott Parker if we can, so this is more has to do with policy and him and Cortland will kind of talk a little bit about that. Commissioner.
Yeah, that's okay. So what happened a little while ago, I reached out to Cortland and asked him to give us an opinion on the allowable uses of the flood control funding. Just to have a further clarification, because there were a bunch of different projects that we were looking at, and we hate having to sit down and have this conversation each time, is this an allowable project or not? We wanted a guideline so that we could say, okay, judge the projects against this guideline. So in the process of preparing that memo, Cortland determined that we have a lot of flexibility with those funds as long as we give everybody else in the county the same opportunity that we use. So we could use these funds. Before we were saying it's these regional flood control issues that affect multiple county or multiple cities within the county. Cortland's interpretation is, well, actually, if we wanted to do that, we could fix a storm drain on an individual road. The problem is we can't just do it in the unincorporated area. We'd have to offer that same opportunity to any city in the county. We don't, I think, as a matter of policy, don't want to start getting involved in all the different cities' stormwater projects. They already charge fees for that. They already have their plans for that. So what our intent was, though, is to come up with this policy. And we found while we were doing this, that we actually had a policy from years and years and years ago. And we actually had a stormwater committee that operated as part of WACOG, if I understand it correctly. It had different committee members, and they prioritized projects in the county and then used money from the general fund to fund those.
Was this 7 years ago?
No, this was, I think 2013 was the
Okay.
last, I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So 10 plus. It's never operated since I've been the comptroller.
Okay.
So we had 2 questions. Is one, we wanted to take a little bit of the money that was in the flood control and pay for a study to prioritize the regional flood control issues in the county. Because we don't know what's a high priority and what's not a high priority. We do in our unincorporated areas, but we don't in the county. We don't know in Ogden City or.
Who is qualified to do such a thing? Because there's going to be bias if we bring all the county or all the city managers and stuff together.
That is a very good question. I don't know the firms very well. I would probably defer to engineering to Gary or Chad.
I think there's quite a few different firms that we could actually look at. I mean, some of the ones we've dealt with in the past are Hanson, Allen, Luce, and Bowen and Collins are some of your larger ones that I think would do
Okay.
a project like this, but there's multiple others that could do this as well.
And we don't have to do the study right now. We could wait to the budget cycle to prioritize that, but we just kind of want to get a direction as to where we're going to head. So our thought was, is if we could prioritize what I'm defining as a regional project, and a regional project would be something that affects multiple cities. So the Horseshoe Pond, for example, gets flood water, stormwater that would affect a couple of different cities. So that would be something that would qualify for this. Whereas, you know, my parents' house with flooding in front of their house right there doesn't affect anybody but them and maybe the property next to them. So that wouldn't be something that would qualify for this. So we're just trying to come up with an internal policy on how we would use those funds. And then if the commissioners wanted to do something like we did in WACOG, where we have a couple of the different city public works managers get together and make recommendations, it would still be the commissioner's decision to approve or not approve any individual project. You control the budget just like you do for WACOG or the transportation. And so everybody could say, we want to do project A, you still could prioritize project B over project A. But that way, we would be gathering some input from the different community cities as to what's the best way to use this money. We're gonna have by the end of this year about $6 million available in that funding. We collect on average about 2 million a year now. And so we're starting to build up, I mean, that's not, when you compare all the stormwater needs of the county, that's not very much, but still, we're starting to build up some money that we could look at doing some projects at this point. We've got enough that we can do some projects.
How much do we have in there?
About 6 million. By the end of the year, we'll have about 6 million. So what we were hoping to get from you guys is just some direction as to whether or not you'd like us to draft a policy for your review and discussion that includes this concept of, is it a WACOG subcommittee? Is it just a couple of different community members, maybe someone from Ogden, maybe someone from, doesn't have to go through WACOG. We just kind of wondered if you had some thoughts or feelings on this. We don't want to spend a ton of staff time preparing a policy if this is not really where you'd like to go. But we do think we need some guidance for these funds. Otherwise, they're just going to continue to build, and we've only really used them on our unincorporated areas plus some river projects. So we need to have some guidance on how best to use these.
Questions.
Are they collected countywide?
It's a countywide property tax levy.
Right, it should be eligible. All the cities should be eligible for regional projects.
Yep.
What we wouldn't wanna do is have them start supplementing their own, cause like I said, some of the cities have their own. I'm getting taxed Weaver County and Ogden City. But that's why, it'd be good to have a board that could decide whether. Those certain projects should obviously be taken care of from the city's funding.
Sure.
Models, and some maybe not, but.
So do you think a WACOG subcommittee makes sense?
As hard as sometimes they can be to work with, because they all want part of that, and they all want that money, I do think so, just for the fact that there's. If you have a voice of, it's kind of like a voice of the people, really, right? Just our different community leaders. A prime example is like, we have the warm spring pond out by Smith and Edwards that obviously has needed work for a lot of years. And it impacts our overall drainage for Weaver County in the long run, in the high time spring but it kind of falls between cities, and cities don't have the money to go in and actually do that. And so projects like that could be, depending on the study, could be presented and brought up, and overall that helps the county wide, and more particularly far west, Pleasant View and those cities, but it does help the county, our western drain and all that stuff in the long run. So I think we have projects like that in Riverdale also. We have some infrastructures in Riverdale that are undersized, and we have a
That's
lot.
out there behind the J.C.
Yeah.
Penney coming off the
Yeah.
Birch Creek.
Yeah.
Birch Creek, there's South Ogden.
But the same thing, a lot of the things we're getting back, just recently as last week, we get people say, okay, you have a flooding issue or you have a water issue. Well, that's Weaver County's problem, because that water we start on the east bench and everything goes through all these cities and ends up so we don't control the middle, but we control the east side and the west side. And so this would allow us to kind of work on some of those major infrastructures within the cities, and that would help our problem and their problem, because they're adding to that as we go. But I think it would, but.
So would we do the study? I'm sitting here thinking, you put the committee back together, but I wouldn't mind having the study done already, because
Before that?
because I would worry about.
Well, you know where your needs are, and what cities it would highly impact, right? from
Yeah.
that, Really.
Yeah, the intention, if you guys are in favor of this, is that we would go out and just get a quote for a study that would come back as part of the budget request. We would then get you to approve it during the budget, and then draft up some proposed policies as to how we see this operating based off of the priority in the county. So we would say, WACOG subcommittee, here's the priority as identified by XYZ Consulting. Here's how much money we have. Here's our proposed rules. And if everybody's on board, we would say, okay, which of these projects should we fund?
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Also in the policy, I think we need to make sure that because ultimately, we have the years that we're on the hook for the high liability of floods with rivers and all the different things. We want to make sure that we don't deplete that fund.
No.
We've been building it, but we ought to make sure it can only those projects could only take a certain percentage of the fund.
Yeah.
Or we
Just so
decide,
we're
you know, based on the year and inflation, how much money we keep in there. As
Yeah.
a base.
We could say it's two, I mean, this is arbitrary number, $2 million is what the minimum amount we're always going to leave in there, and then whatever is above that amount, that's what we'll consider
And
appropriate.
this is probably gonna end up appearing on the speedometer or the instrument gauge cluster that you do for our budget as far as. You know, you put those gauges up there.
I do put those gauges. I don't put that one on there because we don't have any regular expenditures going out of there, so we're just building, you know what I mean?
But that will eventually end up there.
Yeah, yeah, we would set an ideal fund balance limit reserve, and we would track that annually.
Okay,
So are you okay if we go out and get a draft study as to what it would cost to do this? We won't commit to it, and then,
I'm okay with that. You
Yeah,
okay?
I am.
okay, and
I
then we'll,
think subcommittee's a great idea because. I mean, even if those biases come out, you'll know it's a regional project when you see the buy-in from several mayors.
Well, the great thing is that, you know, kind of like some of our other subcommittees, you can have city managers and different people
Yeah.
that are actually working
Yeah.
with the, in the field people who understand the needs, and I think overall collectively, it'll give us a better infrastructure that'll help us long term, so.
and so we'll have Cortland maybe, or whoever Chris Crockett assigns, start drafting up some policies as well,
Great,
potential policies. Okay, awesome.
great. Welcome, Jen. You're okay. Camera's right here, not there. Okay, great,
Okay, that's all.
perfect. Anything else? Okay, Commissioner, anything else? I think you've got a good consensus here, so let's do that.
Sure.
All right,
Thank you.
do you have enough information? Is Liam here? Can we move on to the next item?
We could see if he could come up.
He's here today.
Yeah, let's see if we can get that going a little early.
I can see
Let him
this.
know.
I don't know.
Do you have the information you need for that?
For sure.
Okay,
Let me see if Jeff Hells happens to be here yet. I don't, he didn't accept, but Emily from Marriott had accepted, so, yeah. See if they're here, so.
but so there are other people that are listening here.
People, yeah,
Then it's okay.
so.
We can saunter for a few minutes. It's not that big a deal. They were told the time.
Can I do that?
Yeah,
Motion to Saunders.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
I will, for those online or in person, will saunter till approximately 1:30. Welcome back to our Weaver County Commission work session on this Monday, the 22nd of July. Need a motion to leave our sauntering session and then back into our meeting.
Motion to cease to saunter.
Have a motion, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Thank you. We're on item 3 of our agenda today, which is a discussion regarding the sewer easement on the rail trail. We'll lead out with Mr. Ross. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. We were approached, I assume by you, Jeff, on this, in regards to an easement. You notice I gave you the drawings that they sent me today, of the subdivision, or the subdivision that was down here at the end of this red line, this green line. We're here to talk with the commissioners during this work session about, granting an easement along, this is the rail trail that is owned by Weaver County, which is used for pedestrians and different uses. But just kind of to see whether the county commissioners will consider allowing this, and I've got Liam here and Chad to talk about what the compensation would be for that easement if granted. And then also just some things that we wanna have you represent of, like maintenance and who would be responsible for the sewer line after those things. But did I explain that right? Shauna kind of handed over to me, he's out of town, so we apologize for that. But is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Jeff, go ahead. We've got Jeff and Amy here. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so as you can see on the drawing there, that we're requesting a sewer line that runs from the ponds there to the west and then going along your easement, your trail easement right up into what the Marriott's own, a piece of property where they've got some development that they want to do up in there. That'd be a pressure line from a pump station that's set in that area, general area.
In the area up here by where the
Uh-huh.
Rocky Mountain Power and that is.
Yeah, it'd be right up there where you see that green line ends there.
So would it gravity to there and then
It'd
pressure from
gravity
there?
to there, so it'd gravity all around that area into that, then that'd be a pressure line that would run to the ponds there in Plain City. Probably be a 10 to 12 inch, probably about 42 to 48 inches deep. We're requesting, a 15-foot easement, 20-foot construction easement, while we're building it. And we would like probably the city to end up taking it to maintain it. Eventually, they'd take and maintain that line.
Plain City would take and maintain it?
Yep.
It's gonna, eventually, we're gonna eliminate one of their lift stations in a different area in Plain City. So they're not really picking up any extra lift stations. And then it also takes some of the relief off of the existing lift station they had to the south of here. That's at capacity. And then it's gonna be a main line that'll feed pretty much most of the growth right there.
It's in that area.
Mhm. And Plain City also said their sewer funds has the capacity to handle the growth.
Do you have a LOI or any kind of a documentation on that yet?
I don't, we just had a meeting with them before we drafted this up to ask for the easement to make sure that if we went to work on it, we had their blessing,
Okay,
so.
so that's kind of what you're talking, that's where we are right now.
Mhm.
And we have 2 developer agreements that are already in place for this property up there, so we know what it's gonna take as far as the lots and whatnot in a certain portion of that property anyway. So,
Has this been brought to our planning commission yet?
All within the city of Plain City.
Yeah.
Is this the, oh, the rail
Rail
trail?
trail, this is the easement.
yeah.
The whole thing is?
Yeah, we just own the property out from the rail trail. so,
Okay.
Yeah, so it's on our property is why they're here.
Well, I saw the city line, but it's this side of the city, not that side.
Yeah, it would be the north of that dark line that you see,
I got it.
if you're, well, it's showing it.
So,
Would everything else, sorry, I'm gonna have to use the same map, Sharon, can you see that? Would everything else that's in unincorporated here, would it gravity to this new line? Everything here that's in unincorporated, would it gravity to that new line?
Probably, this is Herbertson's, right? This is
Yep,
this.
yep. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we probably, if we kept that, would pick up all of that. from 4,000 north, south.
Back. Mhm.
Whose sewer is it over here in the unincorporated?
It would all be Plain City, it would be the only one that could probably service them at this point.
Existing, whose sewer is this right now?
They're all septic, aren't they?
They would be septic,
Yeah.
anything north of that rail trail in that area is all septic, yeah.
Commissioner Bolos, questions?
Um. No, do you have any concerns with it, Bill?
As far as well, there's just some things that we want to make sure in the agreement of the easement, just really. Never gone out there and walked it. It's I mean, it's used by a few bike riders, dog walkers, and, that's about it. A few people hunt doves along it, all the way out. But other than that, it'd be a great place to put a sewer line in my opinion. I don't know, Chad, I mean, it's really one of the only access places that doesn't cut through fields that's gonna be available
Yeah.
for all this future development. So from that point of view, it looks really well. Yeah, just our big thing is if, like I said, if the city is to take over that, of course, it is within the city, but if something needed to be repaired. I guess our concern is because we do maintain it as a trail, right, and the public access that goes along with that, we just wanna make sure that repairs would be taken on by, I guess, be Plain City, and then also, since it's not on a paved road, it's not, sometimes you can fix something and not bring it back up to a standard of a decent trail. We do maintain that trail twice a year by mowing it and doing a few things, but we want to make sure that in those agreements that those type of things were taken care of. And then
So it's plenty wide. I think you're.
oh yeah, you got
Dang
plenty.
near a couple of 100 feet wide.
Yeah,
The actual trail itself sits on the berm that used to be the old Southern Pacific Railroad. So it's quite a bit higher.
Yeah.
And, it's already got the rock and everything on it. Where we're requesting that it would be on the very south side of the easement itself and run as close to that boundary fence line that you've got right there. So it probably wouldn't interfere at all with your actual trail.
okay.
Yeah,
It's far enough
we
off.
looked at the width
Yeah.
of that
Mhm.
easement, and there's so much room there that I don't even know if, I mean, obviously we would, if we damage something, put it back, and that would be in the agreement for the easement. But also we would have to probably access a couple of manholes for maintenance, and that's why we did the 15-foot permanent easement, so that
Yeah.
they could get down in there.
And the trail itself favors the north side pretty
Trying to remember, it's
drastically.
been a little while, I've been,
Yeah.
then I was gonna say,
So-
I know, there's a ditch on a certain part of that, right? Or I know there's some ditches
Yeah,
and
on
stuff.
the
that
north
run
side,
through
there's some
it.
drain ditches,
Mhm.
yeah.
That drain through the trail itself. And then towards the west end there, that would be, there's a pretty good sized drain ditch that runs right along the southwest corner, or southwest portion of where we'd be running it. But we'll be picking it up before that, where the sewer ponds are actually east of that big drain ditch, so.
I know a lot of, you get, especially when the west side of, what's that, 3,900, 3,700 out there, and I know there's a lot of fences that are encroached close to there too, you have to probably deal with, but we don't see a big, any real reservations with that so much as we do of what type of compensation there'd be for an easement, and I talked to Chad a little bit about that, commissioners, about kind of our options there and what we've done with people in the past, and maybe he can speak to that.
And just, I think, Amy, I think Ashley and Tucker met with you out on 4,000 north with that box culvert project, and it'd just be the reverse of that. I think we had Shannon get involved in that and give a price of what it would be, and I think that's kind of the same route we would
Yeah.
go with this as well. I tried to look up and find some information, but I didn't even get to looking at it.
As far as the compensation,
Kind of what a cost would be going for it. I mean, you'd probably have a similar, better idea than me just from working with them on that,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, gosh, that's been a minute, but I've got it in an email, yeah. Good old email, what did we do before technology, huh?
But we didn't have any reservations unless, Liam, did you?
My only reservation is executing an agreement with the developer when Plain City hasn't taken it on yet. And when is Plain City going to take it on? It would be more ideal for us to have a public utility easement with Plain City than a private party.
Okay.
And so we just have to figure out the details of how, if we have to do an easement with you as a private individual, how that would transfer over to Plain City at a future point in time.
That's my first of
That's
three
the issue.
questions.
And I would think we would initiate the easement just on behalf of Plain City. It would still be with Plain City. And it would just list us as the developer doing the work, the contractor doing the work. I would imagine they probably wouldn't take it on for about a year. Make sure that we're hitting a warranty period. You know, make sure everything's good and tested and everything like that before they take over like any other improvements that go in the ground.
And we'd need something from Plain City indicating that they will take it on in a definite time frame. Because if they didn't, and you built out and developed, and then wanted Plain City to maintain that sewer line, Plain City says, no, it's not ours yet, it's the developers, then we got a problem with the sewer, faulty sewer line on our property.
Yeah.
So would it have to be owned by the city in order for you to do it? What I mean is, would they be the ones who the easement be granted to? You couldn't do it to them.
That's what would be ideal. We could do it to you as a private individual, but it would be, if we did it to Plain City, it could be a public utility easement, because right now with you guys, it's not gonna be a public
Yeah, we
utility.
just
easement.
have the
I see.
temporary construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have the PUA.
Because like Amy said, it would be a year before they would take it on,
Mhm.
because they'd want to go through that warranty period.
Yeah.
So I guess in that agreement, it would have to be stated in there that the developer would be responsible / Plain City during that period of time, right?
And then Plain City would have to sign that agreement as
Yeah.
well. They'd have to salute it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be both.
Write it in and both of you sign it.
Yeah, we'd have to have both of us in there,
Which
yeah.
would address the capacity issues as well, right?
Yeah,
Because they wouldn't sign it if
Yeah.
they
right.
didn't have capacity.
I want that.
Yeah.
Anything else you can, I don't know.
I mean, our main thing was just, can we get it and
Yeah.
what you need from us in order to do so? So I
Yeah.
think we've,
I mean, cause we'll have to go back to Plain City now, tell them we've had these meetings and these conversations, and that there would be no opposition from you if we got it approved, that if we had the contract between them and us with you on that easement, that they would then start granting the approvals of our subdivisions that will be feeding this lift station.
I guess the question is this easement something that you'd be willing to consider or grant the commissioners, or? I mean, first off, if you don't, then you're kind of, yeah.
I don't see an issue with it
Going down it.
if we have the contract, you know, if it covers us and yeah, I do agree that it would be with Plain City. So I don't know what that looks like in the interim during the construction phase.
Yeah, during the construction phase, the agreement, as long as Plain City was willing to give us and sign the agreement saying that they're going to take it on this X date, then we could let the developer go ahead and build it and install it and do their thing and wait a year if Plain City needs a year.
Yeah,
Just as long as there is a date in that agreement for Plain City to take.
To take it over.
Yeah,
I'm certain.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've got two other things. So that was a big thing, was the private and the other thing. The other thing is there's a reason, and I don't know what that is, and I don't know if we can, I don't wanna talk about it right now publicly. But there's a reason that they haven't looked. That looks like crap, that line. That line should be straight. And I don't know if it's just somebody's attitude or whatever that is, but that line should come straight down there and they should take the rest of that. They should take that on.
the city annexed.
The
it in.
city should annex that in. And why is that? Is it because of the sewer or what that is?
So what's probably happened there is that nobody's come in basically, maybe to develop it. And then the city says, or the county would say, you go to the city and develop it through the city. Now, I know I know that on JDC that caused the problem. But in most cases, when we develop next to the city property,
The annex comes with the zone.
Yep, the annexation says basically, you're gonna annex this into the city, because we as a county are not gonna accept it, and
I
then
can help you out
the
with
city then
this piece.
annexes it in with the zone for us to develop.
This one right here. We control that one, but
You know,
There's some personality stuff there. Look, we'd like to. I'm gonna speak for me. I'd like to annex us out of a job here. I'd like to get out of it and get these into the cities. That'd be really smart, but I heard that there's some other stuff, and I don't know if it's feelings or personality or whatever have you. Whatever that is, I would like that to eventually be able to flow that way, because sooner or later, and let's put it this way. The grandchildren of your grandchildren will inherit this problem as taxpayers eventually. And so I'd like to, if this were to go through, have this. So these would all gravity to that, so they're not all putting a subdivision and an E1 pump right in the middle of it.
yeah,
And then pump positive pressure in that over. Does that make sense?
so there is a development right now, Amy, right? That now is gonna come in and into that and use that sewer.
but that is all, they're currently in Plain City. They're not in the county
Yeah,
limits.
that's.
Annexed in the last couple
But
of
but
years.
what I'm saying is if Plain City, if you grant this easement, Plain City then has the capacity or the strength to say to anybody that wants to come in and into that sewer line has to annex. That's the benefit for putting the sewer in, is because now people are gonna have to approach them for the sewer. Because the county will no longer, if there's a sewer line within 300 feet, you're saying, we're not gonna approve.
We want it to be a shall, not a may.
Yes, yes, so that's why I think the benefit of this would accomplish what you as a county wants to do too.
Yep.
By saying, we don't want all these little Weaver County subdivisions with septics. We're gonna make you go to the city has the sewer within 300 feet, I think that's what the ordinance says. Is if you're within 300 feet of a sewer line, you have to go to the sewer. And if you're not annexed, you have to annex. And I think this will solve that problem.
So that's all fine and dandy, but my goal here is to get this, I don't want to create a situation where this will create one day an island. Because the cost of, as soon as we put a lift station there instead of gravity, it's exponentially more expensive for whoever decides to do that. So in this agreement, that's important for me. So that then creates another thing with how deep, if you did this, how deep that would have to be.
It's gonna, on that pressure line, it'll have to be 42 to 48 inches, all it's gonna be.
Yeah,
At least, and it may have to be 42, 48, it may have to be 60 inches. I mean, I realize it puts more cost on it, but I just want this to be able to gravity to there.
So what they'll have to do, commissioners, they'll actually have to have another pump station.
well,
To
and
lift
Plain
it.
City will have to put a line in down 3900. Because all these homes that are on 3900 that are on septic right now, there's gonna have to be a main that they're feeding into, and then that comes in and picks up our line at the rail trail and then goes to the,
Yeah,
so they're only gonna pick up from 3900 west. And so our line's gonna be big enough to take them, but they're gonna have to put in their own line to get.
Just like you're
to get-
having to put your line in for this news station.
yeah. So the pressure line's only gonna be as shallow as you can put it. And then everything going into it is gonna be the depth
I got it.
that'll gravity feed, because putting this deeper won't affect anything.
I got it.
Yeah,
I got it. And then the next thing was. You don't see any problems with this then? Oh, I know what it was. Look. That trail that comes off of Smith Park. You got that beautiful park up there. Then that trail comes down along that north side of it. Goes to nowhere. It's paved too, isn't it? I see that as something, I see that, I remember there was at one time a great deal of motion linked to that, to get that. So that one day would be better.
Yeah.
Where I'm headed with this, is this the time? Is there a way that we could do something so that that trail somehow could link with this trail and it would be paved all the way out? That's kind of where I want that to be a better thing for that, but we're not even talking about our city, we're talking about far west into. But where we have now, we have some negotiating power because of the easement. I would love to see that betterment, and I don't necessarily need that to be on the backs of this project, but I would like that to be on something so that it could be used more. It'd be used more instead of having to deal with, those puncture vine and everything else that's out on there. You know what I mean? I'd like it to be paved.
I
So
did
the
meet,
go ahead,
did
excuse
meet
me.
with the mayor of Far West last week on some other issues, and we did talk at length about that trail and how him. He really pushed for that even before he was mayor. And how he really wants to be able to tie that into this eventually. So we talked about, future growth, of course, like. That's something I've always done, like Layton has a huge trails committee, and one of the review processes that we go through when we do a development in Layton is the Parks Committee, and they're making sure that each new development that's within proximity to these trails puts in a trail to tie in eventually, even if it goes nowhere, and so anything that would be north of where the sewer main's going, that we're gonna be developing, that's something that I don't think is a hard ask to say, hey, moving forward, anything that comes in, this is part of the requirement. Right now, most of that is in Plain City, that's tied to that actually it's Harbertson's that own, we own a little bit to the north, and then Harbertson's owns the other piece,
And he just passed, right?
and then.
Yeah.
And then from there, to the east, to tie into Smith Park would be, along, homeowners or future developers that own that property along there, but I don't think that's asking us to go along properties we don't own is kind of a hard
No.
ask, but anything that we own as we go and develop it, making that part of, the process.
I'd like to figure out a way to say yes to get that all tied together. I'd sure hate there to be a real nice deal, then a gap, and then a real nice deal, and so. Would this be the time to ask for something like that, or?
I think that's something where it's part of their property, we could include in the development agreement.
For
Yeah.
this piece, but not for the other pieces.
I understand.
So
This is
so it makes the potential
Yeah.
becomes greater
Yeah.
now.
Right.
How far, Amy, does that trail go down 4,000? Because this rail trail goes right to 4,000. So wherever that trail ends on 4,000 up to where it goes nowhere. Would only have to be brought down to that point, and then it would get onto your rail trail. Would then take them clear down to, clear out to GSL.
So from the parking lot there.
Now you're beginning to see.
Yes.
What, I mean, I would really love for that to go all the way from there, all the way to GSL and tie back eventually. What I'd like to do is see it tie back into the canyon and just another big, huge loop going out west and back up.
Yeah.
Cause that would be a great community asset eventually in 50 or 100 years or so.
So whatever that length is, where that stops up there.
Yeah, it
To
doesn't
this
go very
point.
far, unfortunately, and
So-
that's the hard part is from Smith Park really
To here.
to our property on Tokyo Road. There's nothing we can do about it, cause we don't own the land,
Yeah.
but our pieces we can definitely include. And then I think Commissioner Harvey, to speak on your behalf out west, if we go that far, we're looking at developing a huge industrial park and area out there that, we're all aware of. That's an easy one for us to tie in to that development and get it, a little bit further out there too, and.
Look, I don't have any reservations whatsoever. If we're at it better than, if we come back and say. I think it works out good for us if we worked in partnership, a public-private, public, multiple jurisdictional, private partnership that betters the community out there. I don't have any reservations that way, but that's kind of where I'd like to point to.
Yeah.
So what it really does right now, immediately, it makes those people have access to this trail all around where we're developing it. They could actually get on that trail.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, the accessibility for that trail by all this development is a lot better now.
Are there trail connections along anywhere, or is it just from the parking lot?
I think it's
That's
just.
it, yeah, parking lot
Parking lot to 67, there's one there,
in the road, there's in and out.
there's one on 4,000, one right there by Jerry Anderson. There's one on 6,700.
Yep.
And then from there, it goes clear out,
It's Rainbow Unit, clear out.
You know where
Where we
that is.
pick
Rainbow
back
Unit,
up
clear
and
out.
pay it back in.
yeah, so I mean,
We can't force what Plain City does with that, but I know, just so you hear from us, all of our incorporation, or all of our unincorporated subdivisions all have active transportation easements associated with them, every one of them.
Mhm.
And that's a priority for us.
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's hard because.
They're basically gonna be used by 14-year-olds on scooters to deliver Amazon packages. While they're going to school.
That's what drones are for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think as a developer, you know, and it is hard because it is the city's jurisdiction, you know, to come back and say, hey, we'll approve this subdivision, but you gotta put a trail in. You know, kind of thing, and the area's there, but you know, what are we gonna do to improve it, you know, and so that's a hard one, but I have no problem doing it, I have had to do it multiple times, it goes into our open space credits, and so it's like, you know, whether we pay for that or pay for a park, it's, you know, so I don't have a problem with it,
I'd like to,
I get your point for
do you
sure.
have other thoughts on this? I think, is there any questions? I think in theory, you have a couple of yeses right now. And philosophically speaking, with if those concerns, or we can work together towards those things.
so I think it probably benefits you two-part. Number one, it'll get rid of your annexation problem, because now there's a purpose and a reason why they can go to Plain City. And a continuation of the trails that are now available. We do them in our subdivisions that we do them that access this. And somehow, I don't know how we won't be able to do it, but somehow on 4,000, eventually they can come to 4,000 to that parking lot on 4,000. And then from there, it's how many miles? I mean, it's like 20 miles, 15 miles.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful loop? Yeah, to get out and just, and
Yeah.
it's not like you're climbing any hills, it'd be just a way to get out and,
Yeah,
yeah, that'd be great.
What I'd like to know is, to a developer, you know, that is along that trail, would it be possible to get a trail connection? So they can just walk through the neighborhood, pick up the trail right there from the neighborhood, rather than have to go to a parking lot to pick it up.
Doesn't that have to come from Plain City though, in this case?
Yeah.
Yeah, cause it's in their city.
Yeah.
so I guess maybe that's where we could put it in the developer's agreement, that any development that happens near this, they would provide access to that trail as their,
15 foot, I think, isn't that what ours are, 15 foot-ish?
And then we
Access.
could maybe just negotiate that to say, you know, if we do an access point here and we improve this trail along, you know, this property, can we take that in open space credits?
Do yourself a favor and tell them it has to be hard surface too, either sidewalk or some kind of paved or something, whatever you.
within the Plain City subdivision.
Yeah, cause then your connection, you're not gonna have to pick up all these little things along the way when that gets done. That'll help the trail with the eventually this will come to the trails, northern Utah, you know, the northern Utah trails folks anyway, so. Get those little limbs and branches off hard surface now instead of a piece of road base or something, you know.
But you guys as a county wouldn't have any problem where it's your easement with us going in with a connection.
Nope, we wouldn't. Would we?
As long as Plain City
Right.
has a time certain
Yeah.
that they're going to take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that gives you enough, you can go back to them and start talking to them about what that looked like. So it could be a collaborative agreement, correct?
Yeah.
So.
Good.
And then, yeah, when we get a little further, we can schedule another work session and bring things up to date and.
Okay.
It sounds good.
I like it. Well, we're gonna go fast on this. The need for sewer there is behind, so,
Yeah.
yeah. In fact, we've already got the sewer line in the works. We just needed the for sure place to put it.
The only reservation I have is when I was at the Golden Spike, I used to pride myself, used to say, I take more crap than anybody in the county. But you guys could maybe you might could claim that
You know, we're in
title.
the business of taking crap. That's what we do.
We got the piles to prove it, but maybe that's what we ought to do. Put a vacuum line over there. Let's vacuum those stalls with this line and send them out there. Okay,
So we got your blessing on it to move forward.
yeah, that's what you're hearing.
And then we meet with Plain City and let them know.
And then we can work with our legal and. Stuff on what that agreement looks like, all the needs and.
Yeah.
You'll update Gage on this too.
Yeah. We'll-
Teach him to be out of town on work. Okay, thank you. Nice to
That's
see
one of
you.
those weekends, Commissioner, isn't it?
What's that?
You know, one of those weekends and everybody goes out of town.
Well, this is for work.
Yeah.
It's an economic development deal back east.
That's-
Yeah, we gave our office the option of working on Wednesday and taking the night on weekend, and we'd all rather work on Wednesday, so they kept Friday off.
Really?
And it's hard to fall in the middle of
Yeah,
the week,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so. I'm like, I don't care what you do, as long as I know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. Great. Hey, well, thanks for your time.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
your time and, meet with us on this.
Appreciate
Yours
it.
for me?
Yeah, that's quotes
Oh, okay.
for the water and what they're requiring. I got this back and then there you go.
Commissioner Harvey,
You need anything
Chad
else?
has something he wanted to share about.
Okay.
Just to let you
Was it
know.
regarding this?
Yeah, I mean, they can stick around if they don't mind, or they're open to leave as well. So we have put it out to bid for extending that pathway out a certain distance. I've looked at it. Once we get to Harbertson's property, it gets a little bit tricky because you have power lines and you've got a steep slope there. So we have to work with him on trying to get an easement to get the pathway up on maybe his little dirt lane that he's got going through there. But right now we've got a bid, it's Ace Asphalt that actually won the bid for right around 70,000 to extend the pathway from where it ends there up to the western drain. So, and then we'll be looking at extending a little bit further, but that'll be coming to you guys.
I was gonna say, if you'd bring that to us, because that's something we can use that fund one or that number one, that's that
Prop one.
Prop one money.
So I was instructed to use this, and I'm welcome to use any funds, but I was instructed to do this for impact fees, but, we have our funding
That's
source
your
here.
drain, and that was-
I like Prop one, comes better.
Nope, it's gonna be the next one back, so not quite that far, so if you have a secondary water line that goes right underneath there.
We have
We've got to
so
extend
much
that
that was spent.
Get
Yeah.
that's past it, which is.
And I think it would be more of a regional, I think a lot of people.
Yeah, they did a
would use
great
it.
job too, they really.
Yeah,
did.
that's where, like,
Definitely be
you're on
regional,
the-
Eventually.
especially once
That's why
I
we-
lose.
Right.
When I worked with this,
You-
Robert had the line across, so, and then JD came and I fixed it, went under, and so, but. We've got some issues there with, I just mentioned to them, we've got to extend the box culvert where we're ending, which
Right.
becomes a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but you're doing that right now, right?
No, that's further down,
Different one.
we did
Okay.
extend that one down,
Okay,
so that's to the west of where the parking is, and this is to the east.
it's still it'll be a great asset for the people out there.
Yeah. I heard the contractor did a great job on
They
it.
did.
Yeah, they did a great job on it.
Well, you know, we can trust that one. We can trust that. We can trust that one. They ought to, if they did a crappy job, there was, yeah.
After 47 years in business, there better have been decent.
Yeah, if they didn't know the property by then, yeah,
Right?
you had everything to lose and nothing to gain. We expected that, right? So,
Well,
okay,
thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Fair week's coming up. Getting busy?
Good luck,
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah.
We sure appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you guys. Thanks again.
See you later,
Okay.
Steve, Jeff.
See you. Bye-bye.
Okay, Christie, let's switch out the room for our next one.
I think we asked you about a lot of real estate stuff. Oh, yeah. Okay, finally put a face.
We all can.
All we can, you know. Just a second as the room loads, just a minute. Well, welcome back to our Weaver County Commission meeting on this Monday, July 22nd. We've moved now to item 4 on today's agenda, which is the discussion on the JDC Ranch Attainable Housing Units. Presentation today is by Tammy A. Lott, Lacey Richards, Brian Bayless, Rick Grover, Liam Keogh, Bill Ross. Nice to have you here. Thank you. Mr. Ross, why don't you start and turn it over to whoever you need to. Rick, why don't you start and turn it over?
So we're wanting to hopefully get this on your agenda, but we're trying to work out the development agreement, and there was some conditions that the planning commission had on this. And we wanted to run those conditions by you, and then also some other detailed information with possible deed restrictions and how we do that. So Tammy and Brian and Lacey, they've been going back and forth on these things. I visited with Commissioner Thrower a little bit on this too, so I can kind of chime in on some of his views on this as well. So Tammy, maybe if
Yeah,
you
great.
don't mind, just kind of going through that, and then we'll have the others chime in.
Sure. You guys okay if I just go through this little section on the memo that I brought up to you guys last week? It just highlights the differences between what the planning commission has asked for and what the developer is asking for. On July 8th, we had a Western Weaver Planning Commission meeting. There was a hearing for this development actually to amend their development agreement. And so I'm going to go through these 3 items, 3 specific things. The planning commission is asking for these and they're recommending this. So you'll see this on the 30th in your staff reports as a recommendation forwarded from the planning commission. The developer is not proposing, regarding their open space plan, developer is not proposing to install a restroom. And that was something that the planning commission voted to have included as part of their open space improvements, was to install a restroom. I believe it's on their eventual plan, but they wanted it installed sooner rather than later. The developer is asking to not have to install that, to not have to pass that cost onto their HOA. The second one is the developers requesting an owner occupied deed restriction for no more than 10 years. The planning commission wants a timeline of at least 25 years. And then the third item is that the developer is asking for no prioritization of purchasers. While the planning commission would like to prioritize those who work within Weber County, first-time home buyers, teachers, first responders, active duty military. What you have attached to this memo is the proposed amendment to their master development agreement that's been submitted by the developer, as well as some updated exhibits, again, proposed by the developer.
Can I add one thing on the third?
Sure.
section? We're very happy to offer a priority pre-sale period to all of those priority buyers. We just don't want to have to wait through the entire period, then go back and prioritize a list and then be able to start running an offer. We just want to get families into these houses. So all of those groups would be given equal opportunity to get into the home.
How is that different from what the planning commission's recommending?
So they would like those groups to be prioritized differently, so that we'd have to wait the entire 14-day period, then take all of the interest, look at every party and put them in order by priority. And say, okay, we'll look at this offer first. If it doesn't go through, then we'll look at this offer.
This group of individuals.
Uh-huh.
So it would be essentially a 2-week delay. I mean,
At
we've kind of,
least.
yeah, we've offered this priority period to try to get the folks that we heard from the planning commission and from the commissioners to kind of focus on those folks that really frankly deserve to be in these units. And we kind of feel like if that was like to be able to take those applications when they come in, that's our objective. We don't want to sit and wait. We'd have to wait for the entire 14 days if we had the ability or the requirement to prioritize. So we wait for that 14 days and then we'd go through and look and say, okay, this person is the number one priority because we had to wait for at least to that 14 days. So it could be as a 2-week delay for sure. And then it could be as much as like a 3-week delay as we went through, analyzed them, and then moved forward with a specific buyer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there are reasons why it doesn't work as well for us, and we also see reasons that it doesn't work as well for the buyer, because they're then locked into that 2-week wait. Where they can't go say, oh, here's another house I'd like to get an offer in on, because I don't know if I'm. Where I am on the priority list, where otherwise they can, yeah, I got the first offer and then processing it right now.
I think it's good on both sides. That's our only concern. And again, it's not that we wouldn't want to comply if it weren't for this 2 to 3 week delay. I would say we would be very supportive of that, but it's just like that delay causes us some challenges. If that makes sense. So, does that make sense, Sharon? Commissioner Bose?
It's more translucent. It's not clear. That makes sense.
What's
Any
unclear, Jim?
I'll get there. Thank you.
What they just described.
Mhm. Do you have any other questions?
No, that's what I wanted to hear. When they presented it to me, there's this group of home buyers, teachers, first responders, active duty, military. What I envisioned was you get a priority if you're in any of those categories, and the planning commission is recommending ranking those, basically, ranking those, so that these individuals first, and if not, then these, to me, they're all in the same bunch that we want to get into houses.
I feel the same way.
So
I'm okay with that.
so is it clear now or translucent
It's
still?
more clear, thank you.
I, not just for the delay, but just for, I don't know how you prioritize the need.
Mhm. Do you put I'll be direct, do you put an active military personnel ahead of a school teacher?
Right,
Do you put a fireman ahead of a policeman?
right.
Do you put- Yeah,
So you put them all in the same group of people who have priority on these homes. And I think that's the most effective way.
The only other discussion that we had on that was the planning commission was really interested in having that be for people whose employment location was within county boundaries.
as am I.
I understand that. Where we have some concerns is as we've talked with our legal counsel, they've said the farther down that road you move, the grayer it gets on whether any of that can be considered as a proxy for a protected class for housing discrimination. So for instance, if the makeup of the workforce in Weber County is different based on a protected class demographic, then it can be considered housing discrimination.
Well, the way I look at it is if we're extending ourselves here at Weber County, I would like Weber County to have first crack at it. If
Mhm.
the people come from Box Elder or Davis County, you can let their commissioners do the same thing. But as far as I'm concerned, we're the ones that are putting our neck out there right now on this kind of a program. If they want to do that, consider the same thing. This is look, through this discussion, one of the things is we've got, this is the first one. And so there'll be a lot of, you're having to blaze a trail here, just like pioneers had to go across, they had to cut some sagebrush or build some bridges and put some docks into cross rivers. And, the first guy through, it's kind of tough, right? So there are
Friendly
some,
analogy, Jim.
that's
Friendly
okay.
analogy.
I also, so this is our first crack at it. There will likely be, once this goes, now I recognize that the way this piece of property was zoned originally allows us to do this, where some of the others, it would require a change in zoning. So from that standpoint, it's a little less cumbersome to do. But as it is, I want this to be right the first time. So I want to go to, and I appreciate Mr. Ostermiller being here very much.
Thanks.
Trusted man and friend. Thank you for being here. So it's important. Is there anything else in your presentation before I go on a diatribe here?
Those were the main points. Just wanted to let you know what was gonna be coming before you from the planning commission versus what the developer may want to discuss at that meeting.
Great, thank you. So it's important for this group as a body to know, and even now public, that I've had the privilege of being able to meet with you, Brian, and I guess the chief principal of Nilsson Homes, Jed. What I heard, or what I absorbed or took in at that meeting wasn't, first off, the entitlements. Jed said, I don't even care if we entitled it up to 100 years. Now, I've since learned away from you folks that if something is entitled for 100 years, that could be hard to lend money on from the lender's side of things.
Deed restricted.
Deed restricted.
There we go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So if it's deed restricted for that long,
Mhm.
it could be problematic. That didn't come up then, but I get that. And that's why, so you guys have gone to,
Lenders.
you've gone to the lenders and found out, and you're saying, okay, 10 years. Planning commission is saying, hey, let's go at least 25 years.
Mhm.
The other thing is, I'm gonna go back to HOA fees because this will be in an HOA. Somewhere in my mind, I heard the term $30
Mhm.
per unit. Now that's up to $70 and likely more if a toilet is added into that park, which is also, in my mind, I've seen so many versions of this for the last 2 years, is changed all over locations and sizes and everything else, and
Mhm.
what would be there and things like that.
Mhm.
The other thing was what had to do with what we just talked about was people from Weber County. We talked about in there that those who could produce it, or those who were renting in Weber County, who were living here first or working here first, would have first crack at this.
Mhm.
I realize you're only gonna be building another 200 and some of these odd of these. And so, and the advertising of being able to get on the list, I would love for you to have 1,000 applications, but my guess is
Yeah.
we don't know what that's going to be and how that word's gonna get out to, hey, this could be good. I get the last thing is too, is I remember hearing
Mhm.
that homes could be built starting at 330 up to about 420, 430, but mainly gonna be in that 330 to 380 market with no upgrades. I mean, if you wanna finish your basement, if you want crown molding, if you want this, it'd be option, but a starter.
Yeah.
1,100 square foot home with 1 bathroom, 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom type home, unfinished basement, maybe a carport, no garage, would be 330 in today's money. Now, that's been 2 or 3 months ago, and so those prices could be up or down depending on the market. That's another critical factor for me, is that all of a sudden doesn't jump to starting at 380 or starting at 399. You know, you started at 330, and so something 329 or 339 would be, it's super important to me because I would like, there to be a product that's also found in Weber County, but a newer product with new sets of standards, new insulation, all the new types of things. And it'd be a wonderful, I think, a wonderful product. And I need to be clear because this would be likely listened to another time, but these would be detached, single-family homes on their own lot, their own
Yes.
plot of earth.
Yep.
And the only other thing that I was hoping for is I would even be okay with one of the offsets, it could be close, whatever, however many feet, but on the other side, wide enough, 10 or 12 feet, so that another driveway for something towards the back could be.
Yeah.
But that's, for our staff to hear that, that's kind of where I am on that.
Jim, that's really helpful to get that clarity.
Okay, any questions on
A
that?
couple more,
Okay, go ahead.
if you're done.
Uh-huh.
So I already, shared my opinion about the ranking.
Mhm.
As far as, working within Weber County, I'm not opposed to that. My question is, how is that enforced? If you prioritize people who are working in Weber County, the deed restriction exists on the home, but they can go get another job any day. I
Get
don't
it.
know. I don't know what the-
No, I
I
get
guess I don't know
that.
what the purpose is. I understand the purpose, but I don't know how do you enforce that.
I get that.
So it's not as big of a priority.
So what
to
if
me
they
as it
work
is
at
to-
Autoleave and they're working on 31st Street and all of a sudden they get transferred to Brigham City? I get that. But if
It's
they're
just-
living here and they're paying a home bill here already, they'd be able to produce a utilities or something.
Anyway, I'm not as hung up on that, just so you know. As far as the restroom in the park, how many planning commissioners? I know that this ended up passing unanimously with 2 not present, correct? Or
Correct.
2 not
No,
able to vote.
there was
Two all
5,
present.
yeah, they were all present, but we had,
But in the-
2 weren't able to vote
Able
because
to
they hadn't been appointed,
Mhm.
because their terms
Oh.
expired, so it was 5. It was 5, it was unanimous.
It was unanimous. But where were those 5 on the restroom?
I would say the restroom component seemed more important to only 1 or 2 commissioners, to be honest.
Here's why I asked, because this is not gonna be in unincorporated Weber County forever. Right? And you're looking at a park that's in the proximity of homes where you can go home to use the restroom. And we're either gonna this is either gonna end up with the HOA, will be with the HOA to
It'll
begin
be
with,
with the
and then
HOA.
it'll end up with the city, one of the cities. Eventually. It's my thought. Do they want a restroom to maintain? I don't know.
One of the planning commissioners mentioned that a lot of the people that are gonna be using the park will be people who have homes in the vicinity,
Right.
and they'll be going to their homes,
Right.
using the restroom and things like that, and she didn't feel like a restroom was necessary, but she was one that wasn't able to vote. She
That's
was-
kind of where I am. And just knowing that you'll have a restroom there, then that will have to be maintained by either Plain City or Far West in the future.
And that's where Commissioner Frower was too, on that when I visited with him about that.
Well, all that's gonna do is add more money onto the HOA.
Right,
Yeah.
for the
that
time
was
being.
concerned.
To maintain, and it's really interesting, Jim, it's like, how much can it cost to go clean the bathrooms every once in a while and take out a garbage can? But where we've found at the HOA, the cost does really kick in when it's those maintenance or, things get broken or pipes break, something like that, and then the replacement costs. If after 30 years we have to replace those bathrooms, it seems like that, it's about their shelf life. You have to put that money in a reserve account over the course of that
Sure.
time, so it's not just the cost to clean and change the restrooms, change the garbage can, so those costs do add up more, I think, more than you think, so.
And that,
What about roughing it in? All you do is take the pipes over there, so if one day a city does grab this and with the water and the
That's a great
electric,
thought.
they're all
that's a
stubbed.
great thought.
Yeah.
We've got the space for it, it would be, sodded or something like that in the meantime, but we would be able to do that absolutely no
I
problem.
think I could
That is a
probably
great
get
thought.
on board if it was stubbed. stubbed easily, so you didn't have to cross and.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Good point.
So that point of the maintenance, this is my overarching question about all the asks from planning commission, from the developer. The purpose of the project is to get families into homes so that they can be homeowners, right? And so
So you can start building wealth.
any barriers that are put in their way are gonna undermine what we're trying to do here, right? Whether it's you have to work in the county, we have to have a restroom that's gonna possibly increase your HOE, like I just don't wanna add any barriers because the project, on face value is great and it's gonna move the needle. But if we add barriers or require barriers, it's just gonna move that needle back.
I hear what you're saying. But I just have this, I don't know that I'm able to articulate it well enough. But I have this desire to take care of our own before I take care of Salt Lake County or somebody else. Even though that might increase our workforce or something up here, I just want to take care of our own first. If all they gotta do is wait 2 weeks or something, great, but I wanna take care of our own. That's all I can just tell you. I don't know how to say it any better than that.
I don't disagree with that. I don't know how that's enforced. That's all.
And I really appreciate that sentiment. I think it's a great one. One thing that we've looked at as we've thought about it is the county is making some really important economic development efforts. And a lot of those jobs are gonna be people who are coming here for those new jobs. They won't have that base employment to be able to qualify. So that's another factor that has been one of the many that we've been balancing as we've looked at it. That, and then I guess the second thing with that is if they have to work in Weber County, that excludes most active duty military.
I don't want this restricted to they have to work in Weber County. I just want them to have some kind of a tie. I want there to be, they are currently working here. That doesn't mean that they're not necessarily from here, but they have some kind of tie to Weber County.
once they own property here, they will definitely have a tie to Weaver County.
And that allows the people from San Francisco to come and say,
Right?
yeah, I'm gonna be working as a candy striper at the hospital. I mean, appreciate the volunteers, but I expect that there will be some folks my age that will finally be able to, they've never been able to own a home and they have an opportunity. I just want to take care of those, though, who have invested and stayed in Weber County first. I want to take care of my neighbors first.
Mhm.
This is a chance for us to do that.
Lacey does make a good point about active duty military. That wouldn't qualify any of them. They're working on base, right?
Charlie did propose
I
some
would-
language that would allow for active duty military to just be included in that group.
I could get on board with that pretty easily.
Here's the bottom line. I wanna move the needle.
I can,
Whatever we have to do. Whatever restrictions we need, I'm okay with
Well, look-
restrictions and hurdles, as long as we're not.
we're moving the needle,
Moving
we're
the needle
allowing
and then
something
coming
that's
back.
never been done before. But here's the thing, as soon as we do this, I can guarantee it, there's 1,800 acres out west. We're gonna see this again. We've got to get this right.
Can I bring up one more change that the developer's proposing that the planning commission didn't have any issues with, but I want to make sure you guys are aware. Cause it didn't seem entirely clear when it was first presented to the planning commission, and that is that in order to make space for an additional 275 units. The developers, jump in guys and correct me, are looking to kind of shrink the lots, and they're looking for a possibility of maybe swapping out about 100 up to 100 of the single families with townhomes.
The single family market rate homes.
Right. Sorry, market rate homes.
So we would be,
Not townhomes.
So we'd be converting up to 100 of the currently entitled market rate homes to townhome units to make space on the ground to add the additional attainable homes.
So for every certificate of occupancy that's issued for each attainable home, the developer would like to be able to move forward with constructing a townhome in lieu of a market rate, single family dwelling elsewhere in the development. Right now, they're capped at 100 townhomes. This is not increasing beyond the 1,000 that they're ultimately asking for. This is just swapping out. That makes
That's new
sense.
information.
And Jim,
I've been
So-
hung up on this since the very beginning. This isn't this, you know that. I'm the one that took you to 200 doors for seniors, right?
but you understand why we're making that change, right?
I understand the ask. I don't like it.
So if we were to take these two areas of the townhome areas right now, we've got 98 planned right here. We've got an additional area that we would likely do townhomes. Now, we have some flexibility to move those, but this is likely where the best location is because it's next to major transportation corridors and all of that. If we were to take those 100 homes and convert those to small lot, single family, we would not have the ability to do like anything else. It would be all the same size lot and smaller than what we're planning right now. So those lots would probably be, before I even gave you an estimate, it would just be a significant reduction of each of the lot sizes, and we would have to get rid of anything over probably a 5,000 square foot lot.
Any of the variety.
Any of the variety that we have would go away. If we cannot do these, that goes away. And if there's a place in Weber County, you're a mile from I-15, next to jobs, this is a good place to put those townhomes. Out west, I totally agree with you. Is that the place for townhomes? That's your decision to make, right? But I'm looking at this, as I look at this area that we all call Weber County, like, good planning principles tell us this is where they belong, right here in JDC. Not, 5 miles from major infrastructure, 6 miles, 7 miles, 8 miles, 10 miles, 12 miles. So this is a good.
Why'd you have to throw that in there?
I just told you, it's a
I
spacing,
know, but
it's a
What's the
spacing
increase
of what?
from what's currently approved in town?
Right now, we have 100, and so we would have the ability to go.
and then they've got 200 right there too. So he's got 100 over there and he's got 200 in seniors right there.
Yeah, we've got 200 right here in both of these locations. 110 right here and 90 right
Are
here.
those townhomes
These are attached like patio homes. We have those in.
No
in our-
stairs, they're all
Green
like
farm.
senior.
right, one level?
Yeah, single level living, yep. Yep, we're building some right now, a green farm and another community in West Point.
Like those ones on 2550 in West Haven? North side of the street?
Not
Are those
quite like
attached
that.
patio
They
homes?
are, these are more like the driveway comes into the middle, there's like a little courtyard, so they feel different. They're not the row layout.
It's like what Richmond did up by me up there,
The Ovation.
like
Mhm.
those,
Yeah.
Different from that.
they're just a little postage stamp lot with the
Mhm.
house on it. One driveway feeds 4 doors.
Right.
These look a lot
Yep.
like the ones by the golf course in Pleasant View, North Ogden.
The barn,
The
Oh,
Cherry
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Creek, is that what they're called?
the barn golf course.
Yeah.
I think so.
They're called Cherry Creek or something on the north side of 2700.
Brian, are the townhomes deed restricted owner occupied too?
They are not.
It's market rate.
But they could be. Okay,
Or a portion?
Or some of them.
Yeah, we're not, we haven't planned for that right now, but that would be another, maybe, good, little,
A portion of the Attainable or something.
Compromise.
yeah, maybe do up to 100 or something of those could be deed restricted.
And the way
That's a
we're
great thought.
proposing it, it's a 1-to-1 conversion trigger, so we couldn't build the 100 and then say, never mind, no one's buying the attainable homes, we're changing our mind. You have to have a certificate of occupancy on a single family detached attainable home before you can convert one market rate to a townhome.
So if nobody was buying the attainable homes, then we would be back to the drawing board to figure out how to
Really
fill
important,
Yeah.
that space.
really important to understand that. That's one of the things that we love about, I think, the flexibility of the attainable, is it's like we have the ability to do that if there's a market for it.
We'd be back to the conversation of how do we now take these out of townhomes and put them back
That's exactly.
in the
right.
And
development?
that's why we're doing 1-to-1. So if we had done 10 attainable homes, that would let us convert only 10 to townhomes. And then if we said, nobody's buying these, there's no market for them, our cap on the development would be 735 instead of the 725, and we'd just be done. Cause anything above the 725 has to be a single family detached attainable home. So if we stopped at 10, that would be the new end.
okay.
We wanted you to be aware of that because that was something new that was brought up.
I'm glad it came up here. Sorry, I gotta go back. Are you talking about the townhomes that are on the backside, the back 9? By the barn? Somebody please know what that is.
No, we were talking about these, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
At the barn,
Oh,
Yes.
the attached single family.
Yeah, so if you're at the barn golf course, I do not know where the back nine is, I'm sorry, Jim, but it's the farthest, there's a community that was built within the last probably 6 years. That's on the east side of the barn golf course as
yeah,
you're going
that's
on
the,
2700.
them.
Yeah, so that's
But they
what.
aren't.
No, that's
And
what
I'm not
these-
much of a golfer, but it's okay. I know what that is. That's a nice product.
Yeah,
I'm looking for some ponds in there then, some ponds. and some-
we could put swimming pool, does the swimming pool count?
Is that in there? Oh, that is in there. That's that extra for the seniors, right?
Uh-huh.
And the big, yeah, that's right. I already knew about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
No, we appreciate the time to come and have one more conversation before before we're in front of you on the 30th. I think, I think Steve Waldrop will be there from the state to kind of share
good.
some of those thoughts. We're really excited about it, just so that you commissioners know. We've got these lots that are under construction. We have curb and gutter going down right here. So regardless of whether this is approved or not, we're committed to this plan. And we're really excited about it. It just so happened that we didn't really plan for the Attainable to be located down here because that materialized, I would say, in around December, January. And really took shape February, March, and April, when we really sat down and went through all of the machinations to figure out what is it gonna take to do this? What does it even look like? What does a starter home in Utah look like? What should it look like? What can it look like? What has it looked like? What does it look like right now? And we did all of that analysis. And we came back and we said, we think this is what it looks like. These small, cute, post-war era homes that we were able to fit those on those first 12 units. And we feel like that's an incredibly important statement to make to the county to say, this is our front door. We're putting these right on our front door. We're putting our money where our mouth is. We are committed to this. We want this to work in the worst way. And so we're really excited about getting them out there, getting them marketed. The day we're approved on this, we're walking in with house plans to go get permits pulled. And we're hoping to have the recording on this Orchard one done with your great staff's help quickly, like this week, next week timeframe. So
So this will be on the commission on the 30th.
this will be on the 30th. Yeah, that's right. What was that? Lisa?
Yeah, first 12 houses we're building are attainable, and we're hoping to have families in them by early next year.
Yeah. So we're really, really, really excited about that. I hope you've sensed that.
Does that include all the different models? With
No.
Garages with,
No, we did not have time to go through all
what do
the
you have there?
different iterations. So I think we'll have two different plans. So the single family small,
There's a
The-
round one and a two-story.
single family and then a 2-story.
Garages on any of them?
Yeah, there will be garages on a few.
What are the
These lots-
price points? Sorry, Lace.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So where we're retrofitting them onto these lots that we already had platted, these don't have space for the detached garages. These longer, narrower lots are what we need to get the detached garage out back. So we'll get into more variety as we get up into this next phase.
Pricing?
I'm trying to remember the sheet, Jim. We just literally looked at that a few weeks ago. It was high threes, like kind of 380-ish, that range that you were talking about before. I think without quoting you, I can email you
I'd like that
what that
before the
is.
30th.
Yeah,
Liam, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. I'll give Mike a chance to talk. If you have any statements or questions you'd like.
No,
to-
I'm just happy to be here to listen, but I guess I'll say just one thing on the amount of time for the deed restriction. Whether that's 5 years or 10 years or 25 years or 50 years. Obviously, the longer it gets, the harder it becomes for lending, but the most important reason to have that deed restriction is to prevent institutional buyers. So I'm not saying anybody's talking about this, but even if you have a 1-year deed restriction, in a sense, it's mission accomplished, because the whole point of that is to say, if we're gonna force the first owners to be owner occupied, that prevents an out-of-state, out-of-country institution from coming in and buying
A
up
block.
large swaths of these and putting them into big rental pools, which really is, that is the biggest priority, I think, for there. Even if over time, over decades, 1 or 2 of them become rentals later, that's the biggest concern, is that upfront, that very first purchaser, that really solves that. So whether it's 10 years or 20 years or 25 years, at least, no matter what, we're accomplishing that. So that number being a little bit higher becomes less important, I think, when you view it from that perspective. And
Does this, in your opinion, also solve many of the bullet points that the governor was talking about on those?
100%.
Great.
And just as somebody who looks around at housing, around the state around the county. Any single family detached owner occupied home being sold for under $400,000 is a miracle. They don't exist. I can show you on the MLS right now, we can go through and do a search because we were just looking at it. There is almost no inventory in that, let alone a new build. So, the opportunity for someone to come in and buy a new construction, single family detached home, especially one that's as good looking as these, under $400,000. We didn't think we would ever see that again. Unless there was a massive market crash, median pricing is now $550,000 median price. So anyway, I know all of us want to drive that cost as low as we can get it, but anything under $400,000 is a miracle. It's unheard of, like it just doesn't exist anywhere else.
Great.
So it's really.
Thank you for
it's
those
really
comments.
amazing.
Appreciate that.
So thank you. It's an honor. This is a big deal.
Thank you.
This is a big deal.
Rick, Tammy, comments?
One comment, and it's dealing more with Commissioner Frower. There was discussion about the housing authority, handling the deed restrictions. He's concerned about that. He would prefer to have the HOA, take care of that, so he doesn't feel like they have the capability and the bandwidth to do that. We have chatted with them and staff has, and they feel like they can do it, but he does have some reservations that way and mentioned that it might be better to have the HOA take care of that, and then we can check in every once in a while from the county side of it, just to make sure things are up to snuff. But he had some reservations that way, so I just wanted to let you know those concerns.
It is the concern to check in to make sure that deed restriction hasn't been removed, or because lenders will enforce that. Because once that deed restriction is there, lenders are gonna say, sorry, we can't loan you money unless you can show us that you're an owner occupied. So I guess the concern is once in a while to just get a check to make sure the deed restriction's still recorded and it's still there.
That it's all still functioning. and
That makes sense with the HOA. If a guy comes in and buys it for a year, then he moves out and he rents it to somebody else, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He becomes then an investor.
Yeah, it's just making sure that that's still in place, and I don't see why it would not be.
I like the idea about the title company. That's great insight.
It's what would happen practically.
Yeah,
Because you just couldn't deliver clear title if there was something
Right.
recorded against all of the deeds, which they would do.
Yeah,
Which the developer would do, you just couldn't deliver clear title.
makes sense.
So that's gonna enforce itself, kind of.
that's
Right.
good.
yeah.
But take that off yeah, that's good. Okay, anything else?
No.
Tammy?
Nope.
The two of you?
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Sharon? Sorry, I keep
Sorry.
cutting you off, Lacey, our time is.
I just wanted to add that we did leave each of you with a packet of all the complete application documents that we submitted just for your review. If questions come up between now and the 30th, just give us a call. We'd love to spend some time talking through them with you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay. Then that'll do. Let's switch out the room. We'll move on to the next item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, well, this is a good place for him to be. See if Welcome back to our work session on Monday, the 22nd of July, 2024. Item number 5 is our update from our great Sheriff Ryan Arbon with Chief Josh Guard here with us. Sheriff, welcome. Josh, welcome.
Thank you. We got just a few things to cover. One of them that's you may not be aware of, but there was an animal shelter issue or a volunteer decided to report to Ogden City about the issues, knowing very well that it was a county issue. So, you know, we pulled our team together, went out and looked at it. Chad's on top of it. Some of the things are already remedied. And so that'll probably come out sooner or later.
I think we
So-
just got an email about it,
Was it okay?
half hour.
Yeah, so. Another joyous thing, the animal shelter is a difficult, issue, to deal with just because of the sensitivity. We'll have a death of an animal. They'll get thousands of shares. We have a death in the jail. We get 5 shares on Facebook. It's just interesting how it works, so. And that leads into a discussion that I need feedback on. About 2-3 months ago, I respectfully requested in a tone of kind of a ultimatum-ish sound that we do not want the animal shelter under
I
the
don't think
sheriff's
this is a
office.
request. Did you hear it as a request?
I did backpedal
I heard
when
it as
you
a.
asked
we
me
will be
about it.
Done with the shelter.
Candidly, and this has been going on. In our proposal last year in the budget, we recommended that Chad get a pay bump, which he did, and they're very grateful for that. But there was also comparisons with other animal shelters where there's an assistant director to help with the lift. Our facility, as you recall, is the first or second largest facility with bookings on animals. Davis County, for example, has 30 full-time. We have 13. And we've been supplementing a lot of the work with the lieutenant who has been over there full-time. We need the lieutenant back into our facility. So when it comes down to public safety, we need to make a decision, and I need your help. But if we don't have any solutions, I gotta pull the plug. It's not a stick in anybody's eye or anything like that, but it just, we need it over at 12th Street because I'll get to the other jail issues later, but we asking for a solution or ideas. Can we put it under somebody else? But I can't put the people over there anymore. I can't. To help them out.
This comes back to is the animal shelter is an enterprise fund, and that just means the other cities are gonna have to
Yes.
pony up.
Yes, we put
Or
it,
nonprofit.
yeah. And I know that there's some money that has come in that can maybe help nonprofit come in
Or to start some other type of,
something, right? But as you guys know, the challenges that we're having, Kiesel has turned into, we'll get into that later, hopefully. After these other items. But as far as, when we did a soft close on Kiesel, we moved everything out to 12th Street. It's part of our lean goals, but the traffic at 12th Street is largely increased. And it's presented some challenges, and we need that staffing over at 12th. Any ideas since we last talked?
there's been a couple to move it as its own district, type of a district type
Yes.
thing, but that's not something that happens in 1 or 2 or 5 or even 10 months, you know?
It says you gotta put on the ballot,
It
if I
has to be on the
recall.
ballot.
I don't believe you have a lot of pushback from us on that, but how the state's set up, how we move to things like that doesn't just happen quickly, 2 or 3 months. It takes a while, but I don't know that I'm opposed. I'm speaking for myself. I'm certainly not opposed to that idea. That concept. I'll let you go. Maybe you have some more updates than
I'm not opposed to a district either, but I think it's a longer execution. If we can involve a nonprofit, I think that would be a shorter execution as far as transferring. I'm not John Bond or Scott Park, so I don't know, but I'm just talking like financially transferring, the funds, the donation, the recent donation, the whole operation transferring, I think going to a district would take longer to execute because it's gotta go on the ballot, has to pass. And you'd have to create the board, you know what I mean? I just think if we could find the nonprofit solution, we'd be a lot better off.
Do you have any nonprofits? I know they do this kind of a thing in other counties. Do you have any thoughts or things that you meet with?
I don't have any to provide today. I mean, we could always throw out some names and suggestions, but then we'd have to have some meetings with those groups, put something out there. That's the a legal end that I'm not familiar with, that we need to get in front of.
Do you know if other counties have this under the sheriff's office?
My knowledge is they're not. We're the only one.
Mhm.
My knowledge.
Yeah, I think that there are, but they're not, I don't know how many other class 2 counties there
Right,
are.
sure.
I would say
I
it
think
would be those
class
less,
1,
yes.
The class 1 goes through Best Friends, don't they?
I
Salt
think
Lake.
that's my understanding.
Yes.
But I think, I don't know. I couldn't say one way or the
That's
other.
my understanding. That's why I think if it's working there, that ought to be the first place we look. That's my opinion. The first place we look ought to be nonprofit. For the reason that you stated. You have a death at the animal shelter. And you have, all kinds of social media traffic. And a death at the
We do.
jail.
And we have a,
There are passionate people about it, and I think it could work.
we have a lieutenant that spent right now almost 20 years of his career learning about corrections. And so now he's being used as a deputy director over there, being told what to do, a gopher, right? Go for this, go for that. And so this is the challenge. So when we're utilizing our training and resources, this is not the way to do it. This is why we need some relief on that end. I don't want to give an ultimatum, but there's a point I'm gonna have to do it. And there'll probably be some pushback from county officials. But what's the priority? That's is where I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to find another solution. I'm not getting any solutions from anyone. I've talked to Sean about it. I've talked to Golden Spike folks, just because of location, and it's always yeah, it's a good idea. We'll talk about it, we'll think about it, but I haven't heard anything back.
Yeah, I don't
It's not
think
a
that-
criticism. I
no.
just don't have any solutions.
And I don't know that they have the skill or to be able to do that, and especially if we move towards a,
But we don't have it either.
hold on, especially if we move towards a
No.
nonprofit or we move towards its own thing, I think do something temporarily, I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think from a business standpoint, I think the business is to be more poignant or focused on moving one way or the other, or having a nonprofit take it on until a district's created. And that, to me, sounds like the best idea is to have a nonprofit take it on with the goal of making it a district. And so if the district were to take 1 or 3 or 5 years down the road, then that would be the way to go. So I'd like to find out whether Chad does it or however you do it, is to have somebody reach out to Best Friends or some of these others that could look about expanding their footprint into this space. And then certainly when you meet with the other contract cities, is to let them know that I respect that this comes to the county, but in every case, this belongs in their lap as well. Absolutely does, not just us.
So, okay, so in the short term, if we pull the plug, what, are you asking us to keep our lieutenant there, or is that a request?
I don't know that that's the case for me. What are your thoughts first before I talk?
Because
about it?
candidly, I'd love to throw it back on the enterprise. This is their problem. So I mean, I guess the line is this a county commission, county government issue, or is this an enterprise? Because if it's the enterprise, I need to move out. Because if we keep that cord attached, it'll always be attached.
Mhm.
So,
So you're thinking pull the lieutenant, use the enterprise fund to.
no, just tell the enterprise in that group that meets, we're done.
Right, but they'd have to replace that position.
Yeah, they would have to say,
With those funds.
yeah,
That makes sense.
okay,
We're part of that enterprise. I mean, we're part of that enterprise, but we're this,
right. There's a lot of cities involved.
Mhm.
yeah.
But, we talk about, as you know, the county seems to give a lot of stuff away, sometimes rightly so, sometimes we just want to be nice. I can't be nice anymore on this. of giveaways.
You can be nice, but you just have to be firm. I'm just using.
All right, so are you comfortable then with me, do you have any pushback if I release the lieutenant at the end of the month? That'd be an issue? We just pull out of it?
You'd know better than me.
I don't know. Why would I know better than you?
Because it's in your portfolio. You're so engaged there.
At the animal shelter?
That's all part of the package.
I don't wanna do something and have pushback, cause
Well-
something we didn't see.
Sure, but I'm saying, once you pull him, there's gotta be a plan in place to replace him.
Right,
With some individual.
and respectfully, we've been asking for a plan or some back for, before you got here. And we just, we're just, I don't wanna give an ultimatum, but we've gotta do something. I don't have the ability to make the plan. I'm not the enterprise. We're helping the enterprise.
Have you approached the enterprise on any time, even in the last 2
I
years
have
on
not.
this?
I know Chad has discussed it and I know Chief Perry's discussed it. But it's always, somehow it seems to fall back on that the reason why that the county's in charge is because there's a bond out on it and they're paying, so they kind of make that decision. That's how it's been viewed and put onto us.
The bond is really irrelevant. That bond would transfer.
Sure.
Like, that's not even part of the discussion. It would transfer to whatever entity.
Or the debt district.
Right.
Yeah,
So I think you need to have this square or direct a conversation with the enterprise, especially if it's not been done even in 2 years that you have with us. That would be
Okay.
my.
I will get an appointment with the board and just tell them this is our
what are their
plan.
meetings? Have they met this month yet?
I thought they met quarterly.
I thought you met quarterly with them.
Oh, is
Well,
it quarterly?
Chad, I don't meet with them.
It's quarterly.
Half of them
used
don't
to.
even show up.
Don't know.
That's
The
other thing.
last time
don't-
I attended, when you were there and made a presentation with your chiefs. And we did it in Far West. That's how long ago it was.
Oh,
But
that's
it's
a real
been
long time.
3 years or so or more.
All right, well, I'll come back on this then. We'll hold off till we meet with the board.
Okay, what else do you have for us today?
I was hoping Gage was here, but you want to give a report? Some gentleman emailed Gage about Kazi. As if the issues of parking around Kazi are our issue and we're not doing anything, so I'll let Chief Guard bring that to your attention.
Yeah, it's a cabin owner up in Causey Estates.
Okay,
Basically, the email to Gage was his concern of getting people in and out, access to the gate. Medical personnel if they need to get into Causey Estates and things like that. And he mentioned in his email to Gage that citations don't move vehicles, and he's right, they don't. I did a little bit of research. There wasn't, at least there was no reported parking issues to us until about July 5th. Looking from Memorial Day to July, we've had no complaints, no citations issued. Since July, we've had parking complaints, about 12 parking complaints
Total?
total. From July 5th until now. And 26 citations issued, and they impounded 3 cars that I know of over the weekend. So is it a problem? Maybe. Maybe in July it becomes a problem. It definitely could be a problem on the weekends, but it's probably something we'll still, as a sheriff's office, do what we can with parking citations and things like that. But probably something that the county needs to look at again. And I know parking in the valley in the summertime is just a nightmare, but Causey is becoming very, very popular with kayaking and things like that. And it's away from Pine View. It's not as busy. And there's just really nowhere to put the amount of cars that are going up there.
even though we improve parking, but it's not enough.
Some of it is laziness, I'll be honest. The people that go up there don't want to pull their kayaks from the parking lot all the way to Skull Crack and launch. So they park on the dam itself or on the road to Skull Crack, and so some of it is laziness, and we can deal with that, but I think looking at it, you've got one complaint that I know of from Causey Estates, but it is an issue. It's an issue to him. And it could be an issue if we had to get medical personnel up there, so I think it's worth looking into. As a county, and like I said, we'll still do our part with the citations and things like that, but. Wasn't a problem, at least not a reported problem until July 5th, so. I think that's the message that I wanted to pass on to Gage and you is. It was dead silent up until July 5th. And once we started getting the parking issues up there and complaints, the tickets started to show up. So responsive to them, but like I said, the gentleman who wrote the email is right, citations don't move vehicles. It's a piece of paper they come back to and it doesn't solve the emergent problem of access to the road and the gate and things like that.
The other thing, and everyone is likely aware that we have already pre-funded or saved money aside with the federal government's $6-10 million to do all those improvements up there, but we're at because they've got the lion's share of the improvement on everything up there. That funding is still 3 or 4 years out before those improvements are gonna be made. Any other thoughts or ideas, or we've talked about, and the other part is that has to do around Pineview. Oh, good.
So when it comes to staffing, usually there's 1 or 2 up in the valley, but when the summer comes on, it's an area that could use 4 to 6, not being on Pineview, but being around it. Right, and so that's a big challenge, even though the schools get released and go up there, that's still not enough during this time, and it's increasingly getting busier and busier up there, as you guys well know.
Do you have another idea or solution or thought on that?
I don't, Commissioner, I could get with Lieutenant Butler and drive up there and look around and see, and kind of brainstorm with him, but. Like I said, outside of writing tickets and just being up there and enforcing it, and maybe that over time, over the summer will help. Our staffing has been an issue. Normally we would have 7 school resource officers up there on boats. On Pineview, with retirements and things like that, we're down to 2.
Yeah, we had 3 retire at the same time,
So we have
20
2
plus vets.
2 boat cops up there. The
2
sergeant,
what cops?
boat cops.
Boat cops?
The sergeant's up there helping when he can. But we're trying to fill those positions so that we can increase those numbers again. So part of it is staffing. Our deputy population in the summertime does go up, but a lot of those are dedicated Forest Service cars on the weekend. Paid for by the Forest Service. So. And they would handle, well, technically they handle some of the area around Causey and things like that, but. Citations is what I can offer you. Like I said, I can go up and get with the lieutenant for the Upper Valley and look and see if we can see some solutions. Come up with something, but
We even talked about the idea of putting a kiosk or something right there just to pull off the memorial and then allowing people to pay for parking. I wanted to do that 6-7 years ago, but again, we need to push that along a little more to see how that can go. There was something with the federal government and to lose $9 or $10 million if we executed that early. And we don't want to lose $9 or $10 million.
We also had a recent conversation about the fees themselves. The citation fees.
Yes.
We were
Yes.
talking
Yeah.
about, we
Yeah.
were talking about Pineview, but we were talking about come back to a citation and you split that 4 ways or however many people are in your vehicle and it's,
It's
just
$40
parking.
citation, we'll just pay
Parking
$10
pass.
a piece, it's worth it.
So we talked about, in fact, I think our legal team's working on it.
They are
An
working on it
increase
right now.
between Memorial and Labor Day, a substantial increase.
It
So
should
that
be,
it's not
yes.
just a parking fee. Which is what I think is probably happening now.
That's what
It is.
we're hoping to do is to, and so between Memorial and like you just said, and Labor Day, though, during that time period. It'll cost them a lot more than $10 a head in the car to park up there.
And Chief, you also said over the weekend, you said how many citations there were, and then you said that some were towed.
well, they were
3.
3, they were put on flatbeds. And when the people saw that their car was gonna be towed away, they came up. And that stings a little bit more because they have to pay
Yeah.
the drop fee, which I think is $250 for them to unload the car. So that stings.
So what's the difference and why wouldn't we use that? more often?
Uh,
When do you get a
Snow basin.
citation and when?
Really?
I don't think they connect.
so
I
when was it?
It
2 or
was
3
the
years
year-
ago?
It was the year before I came
It was
into
3 weeks
office.
before Ryan came into office.
And I
Yeah.
caught hell.
No,
We had a
it wasn't
deputy
3
who
weeks. I'm sorry, it
snowed.
was 2 weeks.
Yeah, we had a deputy up at Snow because we have parking, we have winter parking issues at Snow Basin.
Mhm.
It turns into a night, we just have parking issues in the
It was
valley.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah, and they towed like 15 cars
19, it was 9, it was, yeah,
and it
2000.
created just a mess. So we try not to impound cars unless it's like they're a real problem. Not that we can't, but we could go up to Causey and impound 15
So
cars.
why those three? What was unique about them? Why they?
I think they were actually parked on the spillway itself
Mm,
Not in the parking lots and the roads, it's on.
or on the
spillway.
dam
Yeah,
itself. So,
I bet they never do that again.
no,
well, here,
oh yeah, we have,
I'm not really sympathetic to that.
yeah. It's, I mean, when it's really about the safety and accessibility, it's, you know.
it really does boil down to, and it's laziness.
Mhm.
I had our traffic corporal tell me today that he was up writing parking tickets on Causey, and one lady told him, well, you expect me to park over there and walk all my stuff down? Yeah, we do.
So so are you saying there's plenty of parking? Is there enough parking for the people who use that?
Oh, yeah, that's nice, right on the spillway. What kind of car is that?
it's not yours, so.
Really good.
Oh.
Matter of fact, I have.
Is there
I-
enough parking?
I think for the majority of the summer, there is enough parking, but I think you have those days where you just have that influx. Whether it be a holiday or something around Pine View, because again, we didn't have a problem with it until July 5th. So July 5th, the holiday, the
Mhm.
weekend, you saw that spike. I would imagine this coming weekend,
Sure.
we're gonna have another spike up there. Of people.
I think I don't have an issue with. Once they do it one time, those guys they'll walk their stuff down. You expect me to walk my stuff down? We didn't expect to see you on the causeway, but yes, yeah.
And I think I think it's worth talking about and looking at as a county for us as well, because the Upper Valley is just increasing every year in popularity for people. One of the people they talked to was from Genola, Utah.
No kidding.
So we get the influx of people from all over the state. And I don't understand it. I've been at the sheriff's office 24 years. I don't understand the draw of Pine View and Causey I get, but it's a beautiful area, but I wouldn't get in the water.
Well, if there's enough parking for most days,
Mhm.
then I think we just enforce
There's nothing
We
else
need
we
to-
can do.
well, we need to touch base with our legal and get that fee. And get the fee, they're not here right now. Get the fee increase taken care of. So that it does hurt when they break the rules.
It's a nice sign that says, so it's gonna happen.
But I mean, there are signs that say, you know, this is the fee.
Yep. All right, anything else on that, chief? Commissioners?
Let me just text Crockett right now.
He might already be working, I'm assuming. We asked him to a couple weeks ago.
Where are we with the Causey parking between the holidays? Fine increase, question mark.
You know that every time you use voice to text that your
Upper
head
Valley,
chick goes red
say Upper Valley.
when you do that?
Say Upper Valley parking.
No,
It's interesting. Does it make you nervous to do it?
there's a lot of things that are weird with me. It doesn't, it makes me nervous.
All right. In the interest of time, there's no further on that. I'm gonna go to the jail. All right.
We have some.
Are you gonna say something?
He was gonna say, we have some money for you, 90 million or, what is that what you guys
98.
said?
Actually, I
We
was
have some-
told that we're at we're at capacity. Chief Reese informed me today that we're averaging closer to our capacity. Meaning, when we take any more inmates, we're gonna be turning people away. And aside from that, here is a captured image of inside the eastern portion of the jail. You got 5 people outside waiting to see. But then there's the 2 cells that hold up to 12 to 15 each. They're full. So this is daily. And so I know that we keep saying it's urgent. I don't know what else to say to get us moved along on at least the medical mental health portion. If we do that, we can relieve a lot of pressure from the jail. And we can solve that problem. We can get people the right care that they need through the infirmary and the exam rooms and all that. But this is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And today, I think we were 755 inmates. And it goes back to, well, we're 888 beds, but as you know, that a lot of those medical mental health are taking the space from the regular jail. The recent ones, we hit 750, 760, that's when we're gonna have to turn people away. So, anyway. All right.
It's a lot of pressure on you.
Oh, it does. And, we've been working on this for quite a while.
And
So
we've been working internally as well.
thank you.
The idea of us, it's always at the front of our mind.
Thank you.
There's not, I don't know 2 days in the last, since you made your last presentation, but we haven't at least addressed it internally here. So it has been, and we will likely come up with a written solution shortly.
Thank you.
But I think that the side of your mouth will curl upward.
Well, that's good. I've got something else that may curl us in a certain direction. But I am requesting to you that we go into a closed session because it involves property and personnel.
Okay? With that,
Motion to leave the public meeting and go to a closed session
for,
for the purpose of discussing property and or personnel.
great. I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Bolos, aye. Commissioner Harvey, aye. Great. Thank you. One moment while we clear the room, Christie. I don't know. I wish we had
We'll need
legal
to
here.
record it.
We may need to record it or may not, depends
We
on
will
what that
for the
is.
property aspect.
Christie, if you want to bring in a recorder, that'd be great. There was no formal vote taken in our closed session, so I'll entertain a motion to leave the work session for Monday, July 22nd, 2024.
Move to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. We're adjourned.